Hey everyone, and welcome to the Beyond Life and Fitness podcast. I'm Cheryl Patton.
And I'm Megan Prince.
We started this podcast as a way to connect with more people who are struggling to fit it all in. The workouts, the food, kids, work, and relationships.
We know that we're not perfect, but we hope that through our struggles and our mistakes and our failures and our successes that we can help more people through their challenges and be successful. So if you want some tips and tricks to help you along your journey to be the best version of yourself, then this is it.
All right, so today on the podcast, we're going to chat about things that you might need to give up if you are looking to change your body composition. It's not always easy, and so sometimes you have to, give up some social events, going out or hanging out with friends, or maybe going over to certain friends' houses. It could be meaning feeling guilty for looking after yourself first versus, maybe putting your kids or your husband at the top of the to-do list. Making sure that what you need in terms of your food and your nutrition is always prepped and ready to go. And then thinking about cooking meals for everybody else after you've got your food all done. And again, there's different extremes to this, but whenever you are wanting to make a change in your body composition, regardless of how much of a change that is, there's always something that falls through the cracks, that has to go, that has to be sacrificed.
What's the word? Be let go, kind of, because, unless you have a really boring life where it's not busy at all and you can just add something in freely because you have time.
So I think if you are single, no kids, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you'll work full time.
Yeah.
I think that is probably the easiest scenario.
Yeah.
That there could be when it comes to making a change. As soon as you start throwing in significant others, kids, that's where things can start to get a little bit trickier. Mm-hmm. And you can have then those people that are in your life look at you like, we don't mean anything to you anymore because now this has taken priority. When that's not necessarily always the case. That's just how it's being perceived. And that's where communication comes in really, really huge. Now, again, an extreme example of that is whenever you have prepped for a show. I have prepped for a show. I've always made it, I make it known, like, this is what's happening. This is when prep is starting. This is the show date. So within these 14, 16 weeks, yes, things are going to get more and more challenging for me in terms of my nutrition, in terms of my training. But I will do my best to make sure that you guys always have food on the table. There's always, I'll make sure I still get the groceries. I'll make sure I can keep up with the stuff that I'm responsible for at the house. But I think that's where that communication comes in whenever you are trying to make a change in terms of your nutrition, in terms of your body composition, in terms of maybe even the level of training that you are doing, so that people don't feel like they are being left by the wayside.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there comes a, I feel like I've had to make tons of sacrifices, right, in order to kind of just keep up with sort of maintenance or where I want to be, right?
Yep.
And there's sort of do I want to cuddle with my daughter when I wake up in the morning, or do I need to get to the gym, And the mom guilt, super strong, but then I'm like, but I have to keep up the part of me that really drives me and that's so passionate, right?
Yeah.
And I did a post the other day because I was like, I got up and my daughter cried and she's like, I just don't want you to go to the gym. And I was like, okay, there was something that day where she was just like, I need you to be home. So I was like, fine, I won't go. And then I was like, and then it got to like, I worked all day, like 8 hours, and I was so tired. And I was like, no, but I am still going, right? Because I'm not going to give up this thing that I need to do for myself, right? So sometimes it's like those sacrifices that we need to make. Like, yeah, we can't go out with those friends that are going out to the bar every Friday because that's not really going to be feasible for us to wake up and do our training in the morning.
It's not in alignment.
It's not in alignment with what your goals are at the time. It doesn't mean those people are not good friends of yours, but you're right. It's not in alignment for what your goals are at that moment, right? So like we talked about, surround yourself with people that are going to be supportive of what you're going to have to do, right? Or people that say they don't have time, but then they've been caught up on all of their Netflix shows that they're on. I'm like, okay, well, maybe your time at night, you're going to have to give up like 45 minutes of that relaxing time at night. If it's something really important to you that you, like that's the only time you can get to the gym, it's like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, then you're going to have to give up that 45 minutes. Or for moms, sleep, like sacrificing sleep. And sometimes like, it's kind of a debate, I think, right? Because for women, sleep affects our hormones so much that do you give up sleep in order to train? Like how much sleep do you give up? Like if you've literally been up nursing a baby every 2 hours all night, like you gotta sleep, right? And then sometime try to figure out later in the day, when can I, like during book time or whatever with the kids, instead of reading books, I'm gonna go and do a 20-minute workout. But like don't sacrifice your sleep to the point where you're like walking into the gym like a zombie. But like, if we're used to waking up at 7, we maybe set our alarm for 6, and then we get up that hour early to give ourselves that time. So I think when it comes down to a full life with kids and work and spouses and friends, that there's definitely going to have to be things that are going to have to kind of bend or be less of, so that you can really pour into yourself. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's just like, I know for me, like with my workouts, and I know you're the same, like it's a non-negotiable. It's a part of who I am. It's a part of what I do. And that's what makes me feel good for the rest of the day. Yeah. It just makes me happy.
Yeah.
It's the time where I walk in to the gym, and that's the most empowered place that I feel. Like I feel so at home. I feel like just like this, okay, I can take a deep breath now. And I can just like be here. Right?
And for some people it might not be the gym. For some people it might be playing hockey or basketball, or maybe you're into racket sports
or yoga or dance,
whatever. Like the list is endless. It doesn't necessarily have to be a gym. I think the problem is that when you default to a habit or an activity that really does not serve you in the long time. So for example, right, you default to binge watching on the Netflix, or you binge on drinking maybe 1 to 2 bottles of wine Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then try to dry out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because you know you're going to rinse and repeat that cycle again the next weekend. Or it could be recreational drugs, right? Like that is your escape.
Yes.
Versus a physical activity escape. Food is another one, right? People who binge on food, or just can't seem to not eat chips, or just not eat the whole bag of cookies, or just whatever the case might be, whatever the vice is.
I used to like during COVID stuff in lockdown, if the kids weren't here, I love Grey's Anatomy. I watched Grey's Anatomy when I was nursing for like 3 of them, and I just was like, I loved it. That was just my time. But then if the kids weren't here sometimes, I would put on Grey's Anatomy and I would do a workout. Because I'm like, I kind of get 2 in 1. Like I was like, I was doing something that I was watching something that I like, but then I was also doing a workout at the same time. So I was like, I kind of got the 2 in 1, right? So if you're doing cardio, like when I was training for shows, like I would put movies on.
Right.
Because then like, I did at one point when I was training for a show years ago, read books on the Stairmaster.
Wow.
Yeah. Like
That's
I would
impressive.
just put it up there and then put bobby pins on the pages so keep it open.
Yeah.
And then I would just read a book, right? Because then it's like 45 minutes gone by and I've done 2 in 1. So if you're riding the bike, you can watch TV. I see people that have their laptop set up while they're doing cardio. I feel like it would be hard for me to work and do cardio, but you can. Like they have those working treadmills, right?
Yep.
Like you can do stuff like that. But I definitely think for people with full busy lives, there's definitely going to have to be some sacrifices made somewhere in order for you to make this time fit in this time an extra thing, because I don't think I know anybody that doesn't say my life's busy or full. Like I have an hour of day where I don't know what to do, you know, like there's not that many people that are like, I have an hour a day I don't know what to do with. You just have to, like we say, like you just have to schedule it in. You just have to make it like important to you. And you are going to have times where, when I was competing, there was so much guilt put on me for workouts and getting to the gym, and you know, so I feel like for me, I'm still working through that. It's okay for me to do that, you know. It's still in the back of my head, those voices saying, this isn't good. Home. You should be home. You should be. And I have not skipped a beat. Like I would take my kids with me to the gym, and then we would go swimming right after, and then I'd come home and nap them. And you know, like I feel like I didn't miss a beat. I'm still here. But in order for me to be fully present, I need to have that time for myself. You know. And if you're doing it healthy, and if you feel good about it, then I think the people around you would support you.
You would hope. You would hope. And again, like if this is like a change that you're really trying to ingrain, become a habit for the rest of your life, then again, it's finding that new groove, right? It's finding that new pattern in your day, in your week, your new patterns for the weekends, and people will either support you in it as you make that shift, or they will fall by the wayside, and that then makes room for other people to come in that will support what you are doing, that are a little bit more like-minded in the direction that you are heading.
And I think it's hard when it's a spouse, right?
Totally.
Because then I think if your spouse isn't, I've heard like the spouse will be like, oh yeah, like don't even worry, like you don't have to go to the gym tonight. Like, just stay home with me and we'll watch a show or whatever. And then you're like, okay, I will. And then...
gosh, mine's never said that.
And then things slowly start to go and you're like, oh, I haven't been to the gym in 5 days because they say, let's stay home or let's do this. So I think sometimes we just have to really, we have to know what we want.
Yeah, and that may mean...
set boundaries.
Yeah, setting boundaries. And it may mean... playing around with different times that you are out, right? So that it isn't 5 nights a week. Maybe it's 3 mornings and 2 nights.
Yes.
Or again, depending on work, you may be able to get in an afternoon.
Yes.
That then frees up your nights. So really looking at your schedule and seeing what works.
It's hard to break that cycle for me because I'm always like, I want to get up and I want to go to the gym because that's how I start my day.
I'm a morning person. I like it.
I know.
I like it done in the morning, and there are times where it's just not feasible. It's just not going to happen in 45 minutes. I'm just not going to get it done. So then I have to push it off to the afternoon. And there's a change in how you feel. There's a difference in your energy level. But
see, and I find the afternoons I'm like ready to go because I've had like 3 meals already. So I feel like I lift so much heavier.
Right.
But it's like breaking that routine, right? Whereas, so I think like for me, maybe my sacrifice is I don't go to the gym 2 mornings a week and I go later on in the day because the kids are like, I want you in the morning, right?
Right.
When you're a single mom, you don't have that other parent to be like, I'll be with the kids, you know?
Right.
So I feel like, yes, I'll have to make sacrifices for my kids,
right.
But I'll still fit it in. But for me, a sacrifice is not having to be so diligent that it has to be in the morning.
Right.
But then I fear, as a mom who doesn't sleep very often and is very busy, that by 3 o'clock, I am not going to want to go because I'm like, I wake up, I'm motivated, I'm ready to go. And that morning I had said, like, I had been up all night, but I was like, I'm still going to the gym, I'm motivated. And then she starts crying and I was so frustrated. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll just stay home. But then by the end of the day, I still got my motivation to be like, no, you're still just going to go, you're going to do it. So
yeah, not motivation, it's a habit.
It's a habit. It's just like,
for
I can't.
For you, it's a habit.
I just can't.
Right? Because a lot of people, like that, they're at that point in time of, like, they're not motivated. The motivation's not there. It's just so ingrainedly into your lifestyle as a habit that it just happens, right?
Yeah.
Just like brushing your teeth, it just happens.
Yeah, it's just like it's scheduled into my
Yeah.
week. I just know when I'm doing it. It's just, yeah. And that's not easy for everybody, right? So
No.
then you will have to ask friends to come over or tell your spouse, like, I'm doing this and you're going to get the kids 2 mornings a week on the bus to school.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of women fear that because they're like, he can't do it or it's too hard for him or whatever, but they will learn and they will adapt, right?
Yep.
Like, I've watched my ex-husband go from being away from the kids for like, he had them for 12 hours and he would call me and be like, I can't deal with this. Like, this is crazy. I'm like, you've had them for literally 12 hours. And he's like, I know, but it's crazy and it's, whatever. And now he can get them dressed. He like
Yep.
has all of
He's
their...
on it.
He's on it. He bought boots this year and snow pants like ahead of time. So I was like, yes, like we think everybody else in our life can't do what we can do. But they can. We just don't give them opportunity because we just step in and we'll do it.
Yeah.
So there is people in your life that would be able to take care of the baby for an hour or,
Yep.
take care of the 2-year-old, to get the 2-year-old down for a nap. Like,
Yep.
only mommy can. But I'm like, but they'll have to learn that mommy
Yep.
can't all the
And
time.
you're teaching your kids,
That you're important.
right, that you're looking after yourself, that you value yourself, and that they will also need to learn how to do that. And this is one example of how that looks. Right? Looking
Yeah.
after yourself by going to the gym, looking after yourself by making sure that you have good whole foods in the fridge, in the pantry, ready to go, so that you're not ordering out, you're not always having to go out, you're not picking up takeout. You're teaching them at the same time.
Yeah, and I think when I start to waver a little bit or I get stressed out or you have more peanut butter or you have whatever, nuts or whatever you're having, is then I start to like, because it's a form of self-care and self-love when I'm filling my body with things that make me feel good.
Yeah.
And when I'm filling my body with things that it needs and when I'm taking myself to the gym. But when you're not doing that, it's like a baby laying there needing a hug and you're like, no, I'm not going to give it to you.
Right.
It's like your body's saying love me and do these good things for me and you're like, no, I'm not going to the gym. I'm going to eat more peanut butter. So for me, I feel most aligned. Not like because I'm this type A personality that needs to be perfectly on point and strict
Right.
all the time.
Right.
But I feel most aligned when I am. Because then I am loving myself by not sabotaging goals or sabotaging what I want just because I get stressed out or whatever. So I
Yeah.
think you have to love yourself enough to be like, this is how I love myself. This is how I show myself.
Yeah.
How I love you is that I'm going to give you a chance
Yeah.
and an opportunity to actually meet your goals instead of fail again at them, because then what does that do to your self-esteem, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many times you watch people fail and they're like, I'm so sick of doing this. But if we think about nutrition and health as a way of like actually loving ourselves, then it's easier,
Yeah.
right?
Versus as a punishment.
Yes, because I've talked to a lot of competitors that used to be competitors, and like I still do it. I'll eat the cookie, and then I feel like I need to do more cardio.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that anymore at all. Like I don't feel like I have to go to the gym because but I also back in competing days would like binge eat.
Yep.
Like crazy.
Yep.
Like the night after the show, I
Yep.
think I couldn't even, I thought I was going to puke. And you got into
Yep.
that bad cycle of eating. And I do know people that don't compete that binge eat too. And then, you get into that bad cycle of, I hate myself. I'm sad. I had a bad day, so I'm going to binge eat. But then you hate yourself even more because now you've loved yourself through punishment. Right? And
Yeah.
then you got to go back and punish yourself
Right.
a second time.
And then you expect your body to respect and appreciate you.
Yeah.
And give you what you're after.
Yeah. Yes. And it won't, because it
No.
just, it doesn't feel like you're like loving it, because
Yeah.
it can feel your words and stuff in your
Yeah.
head. So it's hard, because I feel the most aligned when I'm really strict and really, it's not even strict. It's just like, when you're not sabotaging yourself, you know, then I just feel most
Yep.
calm. You know, and then you go to the gym and you walk in, you're like, okay, I'm going to do my workout today. Whereas if you had the cookie or pizza the night before, you're like, oh my God, I got to get in. I got to do this workout. It's going to be so hard. Yeah. And your mind is in a different mind.
Two different approaches.
Frame, right? Yeah. Whereas you can just walk in and be like, okay, I'm going to get my workout in. We'll see how it goes today. Like that 5 o'clock workout the other day, was it the best? No, but I knew like I'm getting it in and I'm not punishing myself. I'm actually doing this because like I love this. Yeah. Like this is what drives me. This is what makes me happy. So if you can come from that. I know everybody doesn't love the gym. So like we talked about, and I posted the other day too, it doesn't have to be the gym. No. It just has to be, don't break the promise to yourself. Like don't break the fact that I was going to go out for a walk or I was going to go for tea for a friend, with a friend. Yeah. And I said that to a girlfriend. She almost canceled on me a couple weeks ago. And I was like, we do not break promises to ourselves. I'm meeting you for dinner. And she's like, okay. That was in my head all day. And I was like, I'm not breaking a promise. We're going to spend girl time together, right? Nice. Because our first instinct always is to let something for ourselves go. Yes. Before anybody else.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. I really don't know what else to say, but I think, there's going to be sacrifices that are going to need to be made in order for you to shift directions, in terms of how you train, in terms of how you eat, in terms of how you think. Yeah. And just knowing that that's going to happen, being open with your communication with the people that are around you, and if they don't support you, not allowing that to stop you. Mm-hmm. Knowing that you're going to need a little bit of grace in your life, because not every day is going to be rainbows and unicorns. Mm-hmm. You're going to have some that are going to suck, and that's okay. It's learning to navigate those suck days. That are going to allow you to form those habits that are going to then last you a lifetime. But like this takes time. Like when I say time, I'm saying months, not weeks. It can be years, really, depending on where you're starting from.
Yeah, and sometimes you will take 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
100%.
And you're like, oh my God, like I thought, like we're talking about my cut today, and I was like, yeah, it's just not really a good time for my life right now. It's just not good time for me, right? Like I can't focus just on myself. There's too many things I need to focus on right now. Yeah. So it's just not a good time to align in my brain. My brain's not set to say, like you said, you have to be in that mindset of like, for the next 16 weeks, it's kind of me, you know? And so when you're starting off that fitness program, just realize that this isn't going to be forever, and I'm not letting everybody down in my life. Nope. I'm doing something for me, and then in 14, 16 weeks, when the summer comes and I'm putting on a bikini and I feel good with my kids on the beach or whatever, that mom can be like, yeah, and she's happier, right? Like, you can see on her face, I'm playing with my kids and I feel more comfortable in my own skin. Whereas you give up yourself and you lose yourself, you start to resent your children, Right. And
Look what they did to me.
And I know somebody said to me, it was so powerful, your kids cannot be your excuse and your reason. And I was like, oh my God, but they are. Yeah. I was like, but they really are. Yeah. They are my excuse most of the time, and they are my reason of why I want to succeed and do better. Yeah. But I was like, I think they can be both, right?
100%.
Because I think they can be both.
No, I totally agree on that. Yeah. But as you find a new routine, as you find a new groove, it's going to take time, and things will have to be sacrificed in order to make that happen. And people who are along with you for the ride will stay with you for the ride. Yeah.
Just like anything, change will always take a sacrifice somewhere.
Yep. Absolutely. Perfect. All right. I think that's a great way to end, and we'll catch you on the next podcast. Thanks everybody for listening today, and we truly appreciate you. And let us know what your biggest takeaway was today, and if you have any questions you want answered on the podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast to automatically receive your episodes and to help us reach more listeners. We would love to connect with you on our socials, either Facebook or Instagram, with links in the show notes. Till next time, keep taking those small steps towards your best life.